live stream. With that, we can start with the CLI itself. Let's start first with talk about why permit CLI. So Terminal is one of the most integrated environment for developer tools, both for developers as human and for machines. And in Permit, until today, we provided all our functionality via our UI application that you probably know at app.permit.io. Via one of our SDKs, we have more than 10 languages SDK, and everything in the UI, of course, is also accessible via the API. We have an extensive set of API to do everything in Permit, configure policies, synchronize data, enforce authorization decision. Everything is part of our APIs. And today we are expanding the service functionality into a new surface, into the command line interface. The command line interface, the integrated environment we are aiming for, as I said, is for two kinds of users. The first one is developers who want to get the permit experience integrated in their terminal, integrated in their IDE, and integrated into their software development. So instead of going to the UI, to the permit UI, to configure policy, to create users, to assign roles to users, you can do it also via the CLI. Today we'll aim more on the operational side of the CLI, but later this week we'll also announce very exciting features that is related to how you can configure policies in a smarter way via the permit CLI. And the other type of users is integrated environment. So for example, our CI, CD, our continuous integration, continuous deployment environment that needs to communicate with permit in a way that is more fit to machines. And they need an access, very friendly access to permit functionalities and for everything related to permit. And this is where the CLI came into place. You can very easily integrate it with your CI environment. But I think the most exciting part of the machine and the identity or the non-human users of permit is AI agents. It's not secret that AI agents are involved more and more in our software development life cycles and in our application. And the permit CLI can help AI agents, for example, by utilizing it with MCP or other type of tools that related to AI, and create much better experience for the permit CLI, for permit, create much better experience for permit that can help developers integrate better permit with AI environment. As you see the screen here that I'll share soon, as you can see the screen, the permit is available via the NPM, Node Package Manager. Permit CLI is written in JavaScript. Everything is open source. And Permit CLI, by the way, it's not only functionality for Permit, the cloud product. Permit CLI is also has tools and utilities for Open Policy Agent, soon for OpenFGA, and for some other fine-grained authorization open source tooling. We are aiming the Permit CLI to be the main go-to open source CLI tool for everything related to fine-grained authorization and permissions. Of course, the launch week will be focused more in permit features, but as soon as we'll get more open source contributions from the community that are not necessarily related to permit, we are happy to integrate them and make the permit CLI the go-to tool for developers who actually want to create better integrated fine-grained authorization in their application. So the permit CLI now is available via the Node Package Manager. It doesn't mean that your application need to use Node.js or need to be based on JavaScript, or you don't need even any kind of JavaScript background to use the CLI. It's just a way that we are distributing the CLI now. And to install the CLI, we need, of course, Node.js installed in our environment, but that's the easy part. I'll not go over the obvious. I'm sure most of the developers here have already some sort of a Node.js installed in their environment. And then we can run npm install global permit.io CLI. And by running this one, we will create the permit CLI will get installed on our environment. As you can see, thinking here, maybe it's my environment. As it's installing, I'll take a look at the comment. I'll say that I'm seeing, and we can see every comment that you are sending, no matter if you are watching us on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. We can see your comments, so keep commenting. Good to see familiar faces. I see also contributors to the CLI. I see Abinand here. I see Cam Sempati. Nice to meet you from the previous lunch. Good to be here. Raise Rohan, you're really right. Really missing Rohan here. I think he won the keyboard. I think in the last launch week, and now we actually missing him. Rohan, we're missing you. I hope you'll get a chance to join. By the way, maybe I forgot. Maybe Rohan is celebrating Easter Monday. Today is the Easter Monday. And I think it's very symbolic that we are doing the software development lifecycle, the continuous integration, in a day that is holiday for some people, because that's the part that is actually make people keeping awake also on weekend and holidays, the operational part. So for everyone who keeps awake on weekends and holidays on production because they worry about the software development lifecycle and deployment of authorization, we are here with you, and happy Easter Monday. And with that, I see that the permit CLI is installed on our environment. And let's discuss how we can log in and authenticate to the permit CLI. So as I said, permit CLI is aimed for both developers, human, and non-human identities. Every command in the permit CLI has two options to run. Run the command itself. As you can see here, I'm already logged in, although I just installed that. Let me log out from my session. But if I run here now permit, we can see that I'm not logged in, and I need to run the permit login. And again, this is the flow of a human flow that do something. And I'll run the permit login, and I get my browser window open. I can close the window now because I already authenticated to permit. Let me choose my project and environment where I want my CLI to run on. So I'm choosing the CLI launch day 1. Let me make the text even a little bigger here because I'm on a very large screen and I really want it to be visible for people with smaller screens too. Okay, so I'm clicking on the CLI launch day 1 and I'm choosing the production environment. Now I'm logging to the production environment. I know it's not the best practice, but just for the sake of the demo, let me run the permit command. And now when I'm running the permit command, I'm still not logged in. I'll run the login again to get in my environment. Madrigal Electromotive, CLI Day 1 and production. And now I'm logged in to Madrigal Electromotive and my selected environment in production. Everything that I'll do now with the CLI will actually exist on the scope of the Madrigal Electromotive and the environment of production. But what if I'm a non-human user? I am a machine and I don't have a browser where I can put my credential. I'll copy the API of the development, and everything in permit, every command in the permit CLI is also available with the API key argument. And now I'll paste my API key. Of course, I would not share my API key everywhere. Here is just a demo environment, so I'm pasting my API key here. It's a super secret key, but again, here is a demo environment. I'll click enter, and I now, as you can see, logged in to the selected environment as development, not to the production. So if I'm a machine, every command that I'm running here is something that I can run either with me logged in as a human or me logged in as a user or as a non-human, let's say. I'm looking at a command here, QR code and hug overlay are presenting some of the content. Oh, you're right. Let me do it this way. Okay, so I hope you can see that better now. I run again the command. So permit show me that I'm logged in to Madrigal Electromotive CLI launch the one to development. And I can also run the permit login with API key. And let me log in again to production because I want to do some demos around the production environment today. And when I'm running with the, oops, something wrong with the API key. Let me run it again. Maybe it did not copied it well. And I'll go back to the cloud. I'll copy my API key and paste it here again. Oops, something wrong probably with my login. I'll do the logout and that's weird. Let me log in again without the API key. And I would choose now the production because the demo today will start from the production environment. And I'll choose production. Now I'm logged into production and I can see everything in production and can do commands on production. Now to what we have here. Ron, I see you're here. Welcome. Good to have you here. And yeah, you're an Arendam and you won the keyboard. So good for you. Let's start with talking about the software development lifecycle. So if you are develop a software for for production, you probably have something some pipeline that look like this one. You are the developer and you have a CI environment. Let's talk about GitHub Action as our CI environment. So GitHub Actions, and this is the CI environment. And then you have the production deployment, which is, I don't know. But this is a very simple diagram of any kind of software development lifecycle. A developer is push code to GitHub, it runs on the CI environment, and then deploy. You do all the build and all the test, and then deploy. Now, one of the most critical part of the CI and what they do is actually running tests on your code. So let's add here another tool, which is the test runner. And to run your code, you actually need to, the CI is running the code. If all is fine, then it get back to the CI and go to production. Oops. Let's put just the V, and if it's not good, then it go back to the developer. And okay, now I need to waste my time on catching the line here, but okay. So if the test pass, it go back to the GitHub Action, the CI environment, and then deploy to production. And if it fail, it's go to the test runner. And that's actually the way every software update is working. And that's the same for authorization. So let's talk about the way we can manage it using the CLI. How can we create and configure? You need a little zoom, no problem. I hope now it's better. So the way we are deploying software, yeah, light mode. I'm a big light mode fan. Sorry about it. And you know that permit also support only light mode. And actually, if you want a dark mode, then you should use the CLI because the only interface that supports dark mode today in permit is the CLI. So good for you with the light mode comment. And good for you start using the CLI. So you now have also permit experience in a dark mode. But anyway, let's go back to our story here. We need to do changes. Okay, so one of the changes we want to do in our application is changing in permissions. One of the things that the developer, or actually one of the important things about permissions is actually that not only developer are the personas that actually editing permission. Some of the permissions are append through, for example, product managers that do stuff. So let's move here the push code, and let's call it permissions change or policy change. It is not permission code change anymore, because in permit you probably configure the policy via the permit UI or via the CLI, of course. But you do policy change, and then you want to run it again in the test runner and make sure that everything is run before it's going to production. So the first way to do it, and the first way that we are going to demonstrate today, is actually the permit copy, environment copy flow. In permit, if you're familiar with the permit project, everything in permit is built on projects and environment. When you're logging into your permit dashboard, you're probably, I'll zoom that also because I think it needs some zoom. If you're logged into your permit environment, you probably can see you have here the project screen. Each project in permit is equivalent to one application. So for example, let's say you have a blog application and you have a, I don't know, let's talk about more real world things. So you have, for example, your microservice for customer. You have, for example, microservice for everything related to customer operation, and you have, for example, a microservice for media management. And each of them is a project in permit. And this is not a new thing in permit. In permit, every project, every application get environment. Environment is actually the equivalent to branch, same as we have in our software. We have branches. We have environment in permit, and every new project that we are creating has two environment: production and development. That's the default environment that comes with permit. And let's start with configuration of a very basic permissions model. So now we are still using the UI for that, but later this week we'll show how to create permissions in dark mode using the CLI. I'll create a role. Let's create a role that call admin, and create a role that call, oh, you know what? Let's do it via the CLI. Why should I do it via the UI? So I'll run here permit create policy simple. I'm logged in to the production environment, as you remember. I don't know what I have with this production environment, but seems like it made some trouble when logging. So I'll use the development environment, and then I'll show you how to copy all the configuration to the production environment. So I'm logged into to the development. I'll run the permit. I'll see that I'm now logged into the Madrigal development, and I'll run the command permit create policy simple. This is a very simple wizard that creates policy. Abinan, you should be very familiar with this command. And as I said, let's create a policy, very simple policy for CMS. You know, CMS like content management system. We have probably posts, we have comments, we have authors. So I'll run again the permit create policy simple. I hope the zoom is fine. If anyone see trouble, what happened here? Permit policy create simple. Even I can't always remember the order. By the way, all the permit commands are documented in the permit CLI homepage on npm and in the README. As you can see here, thanks to all the contributors, all the commands are documented here, and you can see all the arguments. And also everything in permit, in the permit CLI, you can run it with the flag help. And you can probably see the options, the arguments that you can run and everything. But permit policy create simple, and let's create a CMS policy. My system as post, as comments, and as authors. And I also have all the CRUD operation, create, read, update, and delete. We are just now modeling a very simple permissions, very simple policy for our system. And now we say that admin can do everything on post, everything on comments, and everything on authors, of course, because they are the super admin. We have an author, another role, which is the author itself. They can read and create authors. So they can also read authors, sorry, and they can also create posts. So posts, they can do create, update, and also read, but they can't delete the post, right? Makes sense. And they can also see comments. Of course, now we also have, so we probably have some more roles. So for example, a role for a user, but that for the sake of the simplicity. Okay, author read. Why I don't have the author read here? Oh, I know. Pa-pa-pam. The name is authors, not author. And also here I need to create separate one for post. This convention is actually a convention. As you can see here, we're creating a convention, a role, and then the resource and the actions that are actually allowed. The CLI is now processing the request and create everything. And now let's go back to the development environment and permit. Let's refresh the page. Let's go to development. And as you can see here, we have a very simple policy table, but a policy table that say we have admin and author. We have authors can create a lead, can do anything, but author itself can also read their own authors. They can also read comments, but they can also create and update and read environment. So we just created this simple policy from permit, and it is now in development environment, but we want to deploy to production, right? We want to make all these policies available in production. We test it. We saw that this policy is actually works well, and now we want to deploy it to production. Until today, it was available only via the CLI, but this one is something that should be accessible very easily to every CI environment. So let's run the command permit env copy. I'm running it the permit env copy, and let's see what happened. Here, it will take me again to the login flow. Why? Because the level of permissions, no pun intended, that I need for this command to copy environment inside project is higher than what I have when I'm logged in to a particular project, to a particular environment. So I'll go again to the Madrigal Electromotive. I'll select my project, which is CLI Launch Day 1. And now I am logging in. So I'm selecting the existing environment to copy from. So I want now to copy from development to production. I want to deploy my policy from development to production. So I'm choosing the development, and now I want the new environment to choose from. I hope the production is available. I can't remember exactly the logic of the writing. I don't need description. And the environment, as you can see here, copied successfully. Let's go back to the UI and let's see what happened here. So as you can see, I'll remove this old production environment. And as you can see, all my policy is now available in the production environment. The same policy that I had in the development environment is also available now in the production environment. So the permit copy environment helped us to do deployment via the CLI of our development environment to production. That's of course that just the beginning. It's just a demonstrate of how the copy environment work, which is actually the way that we are doing in our CI. Now, the permit environment copy is, of course, not something that we'll run as users. We want to make it secure. We want to make it controlled via we want to make it controlled via our secrets, via our level of permissions. So this command is something that probably run on our CI environment in CI pipelines. And if I'll click the help here, you'll be able to see that everything is actually accessible on the CI. So for example, if you want to run it from if you want to run what we did from from a GitHub action, so we'll write this command permit env copy, and I'll do API key. Of course, it's something that is in our GitHub secret. So I'll write like secret permit, and oh, it's too big, but I'll write my own, and then I'll write from dev to um, yeah, production, and that will copy the environment from dev to production. Let's give it a shot. So what I'll do now, I'll I'll not use the secret permit. I'll use my own API key. I'll go back to development and I'll copy the API key. And now let's go back a second to the development and let's do a change, right? So in the real world, we are doing change and then we are deploying it. So we want to authors also update. We want them to be able to update the authors. Of course, after that, we can create much better fine-grained permissions, so they can update only their own authors. But for the sake of the simplicity, we will just run this. We'll do just the single change. We'll save the changes and we'll run the copy environment. So I'm copying it now from dev to production, and this is actually the command that I will run in the CI environment because there is no human that will do the wizard that I did before. And I will, I need the project level. As you remember, it is not enough to get the environment level. So I'll go to my project screen and copy the API key of the project level. So we can see that the CLI is also fine-grained, has fine-grained permissions for itself. So I can't run this one with the API key in the environment level. I go to my API key screen. I'll revolve the key. Again, this is a demo. This environment is going to be removed after the CLI live stream. So you can copy it. I don't mind. You can't do nothing with it. But I'll copy the API key. And I can see here that it's now, I want to copy it to a new environment. Actually, oops. The requested data cannot be found. Couldn't find the environment with given filters. Org ID from dev to production. I'll not debug it now, but I probably had a mistake with one of the arguments. But the idea here is that you can take this command and integrate it with your CLI, with your CI, and do everything. But that's not only the one cool thing. Probably when if you remember the diagram we did here, we also want to test our policy. We want to test our policy in production. So after we created after we copy an environment from one environment to other, we'll probably want to give the developers who works on this environment, we want to give them permission to work on this environment. So another cool command that we have here is permit environment member that allow us to add more members. It will take me to the login again, and I'll select the CLI launch day 1, and I'll select the development because I want to give developer access to this environment. So this env copy is an open issue too. Kim, do you mean it's an open issue on GitHub? I think it's closed, but maybe we forgot to close that. I'll put Gabriel1 at permit.com.io and I'll choose the level. This developer shouldn't get all the access to the new environment we just created. They can get a very limited access to this one. I'll get viewer. I'll give them the name and my email address. I'm the one who invited them to the environment. And the user is now invited successfully to the environment. So in this way, I can add more members to the environment I just created in this CI in the automated way. So the branches that I created in permit can get more users to view them, to configure them, etc. And then I'll be able to see the invite in the permit. I'll be able to see the invite and join as this user to the environment and do the changes, do what I need, and get only the permissions I need. If we'll go here, we can see that we also have now Gabriel1 at permit.io, a user in this environment, that they are also viewer. So the permit environment member is helping us to manage the fine-grained access to the development environment we have. So we get a complete permissions and copy environment in our CLI. Now, talk about the permit copy environment. The permit copy environment is work in it's bidirectional. So when a developer start to work on a feature, they can use the CI system to pull a new development branch. So, for example, when a developer start a new project, and this project, for example, I want to create a new feature to my production environment. So I run the permit env copy, and I want, let's say, to add another resource to our policy. We have authors, we have blogs or posts, and we have comments. And now I also want to add, I don't know, media, let's say. I want to add a resource that call media. And I don't want to do it, of course, in production because I don't want to hurt the production environment. I'll copy the environment, I'll take the production environment, or I'll do it via the CI, of course. So I want to copy from production into, oops. I want to copy from production into a new environment. Let's close this one. Madrigal Electromotive, launch day one. We have the production and input a new environment name to copy to. Okay, I'll call it a media branch, let's say. And the description here is a private feature branch for supporting media resource. And I'll do the copy. If I'll go back now, I'll be able to see another environment. Of course, the CI can now run the member to add the particular developer who need this branch. Let's go to the policy. I want to add another resource that call media. The media also has the create, delete, create, delete, update, and read, and I'll save it, and I'll say that again admin can do anything on media, and author can only create, read, and update media because they need to put it in their post, but they can't delete media. We want to restrict the level of access to it. I'll save the changes. Now I have all my changes. I'm working on the feature. I have all my changes in the media branch. When I'll try to deploy it to production, the CI will know that I'm working via this feature. And for example, let's run again the permit login. And when they will do the end-to-end test, when they will try to test the features of this CLI, they will be able to run it against the new environment. Let's take a look on that. So one of the command on the CLI is, of course, to do the PDP run. So, for example, I'll create here, I need to zoom again all the CLI here. Let's give it a very long click until it will be in a large text. Okay. And I'll, now I have the permit. I'm logging on the media branch. Again, I'm calling myself I am login, but of course it can be the CI environment. And I want to run the PDP, the permit PDP. So I'll do permit PDP run. And now I'm actually run the PDP, or I already have one PDP that is run now. I'll kill it and I'll create a new PDP. PDP is the decision point, is the one that actually the one that actually get decision. And now when I want to do permission check, when I want to test my new feature, I can do it against my new environment, my new PDP that run, and check that all the policy test is actually run successfully. And only then I can go back and do the another copy, and to do the copy that will copy from media branch to the production and vice versa. And in this way, we are actually creating a very cool way using the permit copy of managing the software development lifecycle. With that, we are ready with the demo of the permit copy. we have another demo today, how Permit CLI can help you with the software development lifecycle. But beforehand, I'll remind you that if you want to join our raffle today, the raffle on the keyboard, you just need to go to our GitHub repository and click the star our repository, and we will do the raffle between all the people who are actually start our GitHub repository today. Let's see how many we got already. We'll go to the permit CLI. I'll refresh the page, and we see that we already got mostly 10 people who star us today. So if you want to join the raffle, just go there and start the repository. The QR is just on the top left side of the screen, and you're very welcome to win this very cool keyboard. With that, let's talk about another way to manage the software development lifecycle. As you probably know, one of the most common way to manage software configuration today is infrastructure as code. You want to manage all your configuration. In our case, for example, the policy configuration, the permit policy configuration, you want to manage it as code and not in the way we do here. Of course, there is a lot of benefits to use the permit UI to manage code or to use one of our SDKs, but there is also another way. If you're not familiar with yet, the permit has Terraform provider. The Terraform provider is allow you to configure policies in the same way you are actually do any kind of other configuration using Terraform. So for example, what we can see here, you have a resource, for example, this document resource, and then you have role, and you also have a user attribute. So you can create all the configuration. Yeah, final life cycle part. Actually, the previous one also was kind of life cycle, but it's less modern as the infrastructure as code. Indeed, the infrastructure as code is the more sort of modern way to manage configuration and everything. So let's go back to the Terraform provider. One of the very cool, and this is one of the, I personally really like it, not because I am a big permit user. As you can see, I'm a big permit user. But one of the things that I do a lot is create permit configuration in the UI, because it's very like friendly and it's very easy for me to model all my configuration in the UI. But then when I want to put it into infrastructure as code and into production, or even like export this environment for developers who are actually using permit, I can't really do that. And now with the CLI, you can manage exports and import of your permit environment in a very easy way. How does that work? So we have the command export Terraform, and I'm running it here on my desktop. And as you can see here, the command is quite simple: permit environment export Terraform. As you remember, we are now logged in on the media branch. Let's see what happened when we will run this command. I'm clicking on the permit environment export Terraform, it's loading the token, and it's exporting everything. And as you can see here, it's exporting it to the CMS Terraform. Now let's see how this, what should I open, cursor or code? Let's open cursor. Cursor, CMS, TF, and where is this cursor window? I'm new to cursor, so sorry about it. Okay, I open it with code. Visual Code now 1 cursor. If it will open indeed the file that I just tried to open, it's taking longer. I was sure that Visual Studio is way higher, is way faster than cursor, but in this case it took longer to open that. Let's make this text larger. It's very weird that it's called that it did not color it, but maybe I should call this file permit the CMS TF. I should call it CMS HCL to make the color it. and I'll open it again. Go back to the terminal, code CMSHCL, and no, it's still not coloring it for me. But let's see what we have here. So we have this infrastructure configuration. You can see here that we have the permit API key. If I run this one, it will ask me for the permit API key. And we have the resource, which is the permit IO resource. Of course, the permit IO resource is authors. And we also have the resource of media. I hope the zoom is fine. Let me even make it a little larger. And I have the permitter resource of media with all the actions that we created. We have the post. If that looks familiar to you, oh, thanks for the comment. I don't know why it's not find the HCL. I should have it, but I don't know. I should have the extension. This is why I'm wondering why I can't see that. I haven't used code for some time as I'm using a lot of. Yeah, you see, like the Terraform is installed and it should highlight the syntax, but from some reason that did not happen. I don't know why is it. But anyway, you should be familiar kind of with the code that you see here. We have the posts, we have the comments, and we have and then we have the roles, the admin and the author role. And as you can see here, we have all the permissions. So the permit export is a super powerful command that let you export your environment. So as a developer, if you want to do change, you can do it both in infrastructure as code, or you can do it in the permit UI and then export it. And then you can use, or your CI can use the same commands of the permit environment to manage it. So for example, if you want to create a new environment, you can run the permit environment new and permit environment create, sorry. And of course, this also works on the CI with the API key, as I mentioned, Madrigal Electromotive, and the environment name will be Media Branch IAC update at this point. And okay, fine. Enter environment description, testing the TF. Restart extension, that's a good. Let me try to restart the extension. I'll just restart everything in. Oops. I can hear a countdown, but I'm not sure where it's come from. But anyway, let's focus on the functionality. I'm sure you also write the Terraform configuration, understand what, and testing the Terraform feature. And now a custom branch name for GitOps. I don't need it. I don't need that too. I don't need that too. It's creating environment. If we'll go back to the project screen, we'll be able to see that we have now a new branch that called Media Branch IAC Update. Let me copy the API key, and now let's run the Terraform. So I'll run Terraform up, take time. Terraform init, right. So now I'm running the Terraform, and because I'm at, but beforehand, let's move again the CMS into main TF, because that way I'm sure the Terraform will find it. Terraform init, and now let's see what happened. If you remember, I copied the API key, so when Terraform will ask me for the API key, I'll enter the new branch API key. Let's enter the value. I'll say yes. And now let's go back to the environment. Let's refresh the environment. And we can see here loud and clear that I have my new environment that is copied in an infrastructure as code way, not as a copy environment flow, and that all allowed with the permit CLI. So the permit CLI is giving you a native way to work with the software development lifecycle, both with infrastructure as code and via the permit copy flow. really like these SDLC features because we think that people are understanding why they need to externalize authorization. They are understanding why they actually want their authorization to be externalized and managed by a fine-grained authorization service. And this software development lifecycle and the functionality that is exposed in the permit CLI to manage it is something that we are sure many developers find super helpful for their day-to-day usage of permit IO. With that, we are wrapping up our demo for today. To summarize what we had today, we demonstrated all the commands that related to the environment management that can help you with the software development lifecycle. We show how to create environment, how to add members to environment, how to copy environment, how to export. Terraform feature is awesome. How to export the environment as a Terraform file. Thanks, Ryan, for the nice words here. And I'll just now when I'm chatting and when I'm looking for comments, I'll remind again, if you want to join the raffle on the keyboard, just star our CLI repository, go to the URL on the top left of the screen with the QR code, or you can just go to github.com/permitio, one word, /permit dash CLI. And let me even write it down here for you. Permit GitHub. And what I'm doing now is just copying you the text here. I'll save it and show it on the screen. So you can just go to the permit CLI on GitHub, start it. We'll do the raffle in a couple of minutes. But at the moment, I just want, if you have any kind of question, if you have any kind of thing you want to consider, feature that you feel still missing in the software development lifecycle, that's the time to ask. I can see all the comments. I think that I'm not able to see the Twitter comments, but I'll try to open the Twitter live stream to see if I am. Where is this live stream? I can't find it. Maybe it's on LinkedIn. Okay, Permit.io. And where is the live stream? I don't know. But anyway, oh, okay, I can see the live video event now. See the comments here. Okay, so comments. If you have any kind of comment you want to leave on LinkedIn, now it's the time. And soon we'll start the raffle. Great. Okay, so let me refresh the page here. I see that we already have. I'm closing now the um, stargazers, and I'll copy the names here, the last 11 names who actually wheel of names. Oh, you don't actually see what I'm doing. So just see that I'm doing right. I have here, I just copied all the names. I need to do some cleanup work here. Thanks for everyone being with us today. Thanks for everyone who star us today. At the time that I'm removing all this extra data here, I will talk a little about the tomorrow. Tomorrow we are doing another day of the permit CLI. We are going to show how to configure policies via the CLI. Permit.io UI, user interface application, is very friendly to create fine-grained authorization. But you are developers, you want a dark mode, and you want to, beside of dark mode, you actually want a CLI experience. And here we see all the people who star us today, and I will run the wheel of name to have a winner of the keyboard today. Let's run the raffle. And we have a winner, JR Schumacher. There are, I think it's actually Ryan who commented on the Terraform feature. Ryan, is that you? I can't find now the comment. Right. So if the winner is watching us, please comment, preferably on YouTube, but wherever you watch, we can see the comment. Uh, I think it's you, Ryan, and just comment on YouTube. Can we get config teams options for the permit CLI? It's actually about your terminal, no matter what your terminal. Ryan, I'm happy to see that you're here. Please send me an email to gabriel@permit.io. I'll write down the email on the screen so you can see that with your address, and I will make sure the keyboard will get sent to you. So just send an email to gabriel@permit.io, and I will make sure you're getting the keyboard. With that, we are finally wrapping up our live stream for today. And I was really happy to be here today. I think this software development lifecycle feature is something that we are repeating on questions about it and so on. So as you saw today, the functionality we're supporting Permit since the very early days of Permit, but now the CLI make it accessible. The Terraform that was just a Terraform provider now got the export feature that make it much more powerful. The copy environment that were accessible via the API got a very easy way that you can in one line integrate it in your CI, in GitHub Action, in your GitLab CI, etc., and make it really works fast and efficient. Thank you very much for joining, and see you all tomorrow with our authorization redefined, the second launch week day of the Permit CLI launch.